Yeah. Hi.
Hey, I'm recording.
Perfect.
Okay.
So tell me from the beginning. So when you came to this, so you're originally from the Caribbean or
Yeah.
Bahamas,
Yeah. I'm from the
and
Bahamas.
when you came to the States, you noticed that.
Yeah. Well, so just to give like a background. So I look white, but I'm not really white. So my mom is mixed. Her mother is black. Her father is white. And then when she married my father, who's Norwegian. So he's really white. So I came out white. But I grew up, like I was telling you, I grew up in the Bahamas, which is a predominantly black country, probably 85% black. Many times I would go to a concert or I go to the bank and I'm the only white person in the building, but I never notice it. It's just, okay, it is what it is.
It
It's
is,
not like,
yeah.
oh, I feel weird. No, it's just another
normal.
day. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
normal. So I was starting to tell you that when I arrived in the US, I really felt like I've never had these issues with race relations. Even I guess because it's also a small community, so people know you, they know who your family is, and you tell them, they're like, oh yeah, I know your grandfather, I know your grandmother, whatever. So it's also not even that weird that people can understand that I can have black in me in the Caribbean, right?
It's pretty multicultural,
it's
isn't it?
very
Like it's
yeah,
very mixed.
very mixed. So there's a lot of mixing. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, you look kind of white to have black in you, but yeah, okay, we can get it, right?
Yeah.
But when I got to the US, I really noticed, like I had never really lived with this notion of race in my mind until I got to the US and I could really notice it and feel it. So when I joined the African and Caribbean Association at my university, most of the students were born in the US and raised in the US, even though their parents may have been Caribbean or their parents may have been African. So they really identified as African American because that's the society that they grew up in. And I noticed that once they understood that I had a black background, it was like, you now are black. You identify as black.
Yeah.
And I've never really had to identify as anything other than,
Yeah.
me.
I mean,
Like
just
for
you,
me,
you're Ava.
yeah. Really the way that systems are classified, it's more of like a social class system than being focused on race, right? So I really noticed it in that sense. And then one of my friends always loved to out me, and like when I went to parties, he'd like pull up random people like, did you know that Ava's black? Did you know that Ava's black? And I remember one guy, this white guy, was like, no, Ava's not black. And it was almost like he was challenging me to prove it somehow. And clearly I can't prove it based on my complexion. So I felt that he wanted me to put on a show and demonstrate that I was black. And for him, that meant acting a particular way, i.e. ghetto.
Yeah, or like talking a certain way, or
or dressing a certain way.
Dressing a certain way. Yeah.
And
that's really interesting.
that was extremely uncomfortable for me. Like just the whole scenario, like coming into the US was the first time I really encountered the whole notion of race, and it was strange. And I was telling you, I have never had any fears about black people. Like I grew up in a black country. Like I don't go somewhere and see black people and I get frightened. Why would I? It's normal.
Yeah.
But I noticed when I was in the US that sometimes I would find that happening, and I was like, wait, what's going on? Like I would catch myself. So like I'm maybe downtown Chicago or something, and there's this black guy walking towards me, and I would notice myself being like, what do I do? And then I would stop and I'd be like, what the fuck just happened? Like you've lived your life amongst black people. Why are you suddenly scared of black people? And you know what it was that I realized? It wasn't me. It was not my fear. It's that it was almost like the consciousness, like the psyche in that part of the US, or just like this like energy. I was absorbing that energy.
You were absorbing the energy in that location. Location is very crucial to how we absorb energy, how we release energy. It really makes a difference where you're residing. I do agree on that.
But it's also because there's this whole way, like in the US, you're trained. You're programmed.
You're
subconsciously programmed and conditioned that
Yes.
Black people are criminals, that Black people are dangerous, you know? And I started to pick up on it. And I remember when it happened, when I became conscious of it, I was like, what the?
Yeah.
You know, because I'd never had that. Yes, I have fear when I go into certain neighborhoods in the Bahamas, right? Because like certain neighborhoods are dangerous, you don't go there. But I was explaining to you, like every neighborhood is a Black neighborhood. So it's not like I was afraid of going into Black neighborhoods. It's just there are some neighborhoods that are dangerous and you probably don't want to be in them.
Yeah. Oh, we've got one, East Vancouver, and it's not even about race. It's just everybody's on drugs down there, and there's needles everywhere, and there's you just shady characters, and you just know that's just not a part of town or the part of the city that you want to walk alone at 1 a.m. Right? Yeah. You just, or even during the day, sometimes you just don't want to, because it's very sketchy. But it's just interesting, the whole topic of race, and how we were talking about. Yeah, I mentioned that Oprah show, and or was it Megyn Kelly? I think it was Megyn Kelly, and how that one lady said that her mom, she didn't even know that her mom was Black, and she found out when she was in her 50s, 60s that her mom was passing the whole time, because her mom looked like a white woman, so she could pass, but she for the longest time was, I guess, had that shame of being Black. And I think it was just the whole concept of privilege, that you can't get a job or you can't go to certain universities. And I just think it's just crazy to me. It's crazy to me that that's so prevalent. Vancouver, BC, that's where I'm from. So there's not a big community of Black folk here, but so it's funny. I was mentioning it before, that when you do see a Black person, you're like, oh, hey, there's more multiculturalism. Like, I almost get excited because I'm like, there's more people. It's, but it's definitely different when you go to the States. When I visit the States, when I travel, I know what you mean. You almost, it's like,
you can feel it, right?
It's subconscious almost. Yeah. It's very strange. Very strange. But then other parts of the States, it's like, oh, it's fine. It's like, I think you're right. It's the conditioning. It's that, it's the society that's put that notion on humans that are living out there. It's just it's silly to me. But what I wanted to talk about was colorism within the race. So because you don't look like your typical Black person, right? I mean, I wouldn't have known. When you told me first, I was like, what, really? But even within the Black community, would you say, like, did you notice that that you were treated differently at all in the Bahamas?
It's interesting because there is colorism, but it's like standards of beauty are still based on Blackness, but there are based on whiteness, right? So it's interesting because white is not necessarily the ideal. So it's not like you go into a store and the store is going to put up a model who's white, because that's not the ideal. But yes, it will be somebody who has all of the wonderful features of a Black woman, like a beautiful curvaceous body, but very light skin.
Yeah.
Not white.
I've noticed that. Yes.
So like in the Bahamas especially, there's this little thing about, you say like somebody's mango skin, like that's somebody who's really light skinned. That's kind of like the ideal.
That's attractive. Yeah. It's funny because that's even, I think in many countries in Asia. So like my parents are from India. And so my mom is super fair. A lot of people think she looks Persian or Iranian, or just definitely from the northern part of India, which is Punjab. And that's where my parents are from. And my dad is probably just like a nice tan color. Like he's dark. He looks good. But no one can tell what the heck I am. I mean, half the time, and I think it's funny because it's like, it depends on where I go. So if I go to a place where it's predominantly Latino, automatically people think I'm Mexican or some form of Latina. Right? Yeah, straight away. Or if I go to LA, then they think I'm Persian. So it's really funny. But within India too, there's this difference. And I think it's really strange to me, but they really look at fairness as being the ideal of beauty. Like if you're fair, it's like, oh, the girl could have terrible features. I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I mean, maybe not ideally attractive, maybe super overweight or what have you, but if she's fair skinned, ooh, she looks good.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's super interesting.
It just goes to show it's about it's just all conditioning, right? It
is.
It's societal programming.
There's even, for the longest time, and I don't know if they still have it, but they had creams. I remember one cream, one of my girlfriends was telling me, it was called Fair and Lovely. And I don't know what was in there, obviously bleach or something, but people in India would actually use that and they would try to make their skin whiter.
Yeah.
Not knowing what's in that cream. God knows what's in that cream, but it's wild to me that people would do that, put their health at risk and do that just to look more fair.
Super common in the Caribbean as well. And
it's funny because then when you go to North America, everyone wants to look dark. They want to tan. They want to look dark. They really want to look, so it's wild to me.
Yeah, it's really wild. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Everything is like turned on its head. So it's like you said, it's a cultural thing. It depends where you go, where it's different.
Yeah. And beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Because to me, I feel like, I think opposites attract most of the time. So just because I've got more darker features, when I see somebody who has like blonde hair, blue eyes, like you, I'm just like, oh my God, so beautiful. I appreciate that. I think it's the opposite thing. But then, if I see, a really handsome Black woman or Black man, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like it just, to me, it doesn't, like skin doesn't matter. But I think just naturally, when you think of the opposite sex, I always think, or even just the same sex, I always think, oh, opposites kind of attract. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's the same for me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny. So I just wanted to chat about that. I thought that our conversation about race and colorism was just really interesting. And I just wanted to kind of put it out there, see if anybody had anything to say about it.
Yeah, that will be interesting. I've outed myself.
You've outed yourself.
Yeah.
Ava's Black, people, just to let you know. If you don't know, now you know.
Okay. Don't ask me to prove it.
Yeah.